Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Distinguished guests, members of the research community, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Ppm Yusuf, member of capacity building team at Qatar National Research Fund, and I am your MC for this event. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the 9th Qatar National Research Fund Annual Forum. I would like to give a special welcome to those who joined us online via our website. As we reach the 9th year, the annual forum has become a tradition at QNRF. This year's forum is being held under the theme, Enabling Research Excellence. And through this morning's program, we come together to reflect the latest developments at QNRF. We will announce the Best Research Office Award of the year 2016 and the outcomes of 4 QNRF funding programs. Now, to start the event, please join me in welcoming Dr. Hamad Al Ibrahim, the Executive Vice President of Qatar Foundation Research and Development, for his opening speech.
Assalamu alaikum. Distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, Ramadan Kareem, and welcome to QNRF's 9th Annual Forum. We are gathering here today to announce the award of a number of QNRF funding programs, amongst which is the crown jewel of QNRF's funding programs, namely the MPRP, which is now in its 10th cycle, has been renewed to put emphasis on addressing the grand challenges of the society, focusing on the wider impact of research and engaging stakeholders as beneficiaries. In particular, the effort of engaging our stakeholders at every stage of this 10th cycle was both intensive and rewarding. The stakeholders contributed heavily to setting the thematic priority areas and to the design of the program. They also actively engaged in the submission as collaborators, co-funders, consultants, and supporters. Finally, our stakeholders were present as reviewers at our panel discussion and evaluations, where they provided valuable insight and wider scope. In addition to their important role in supporting research and potentially benefiting from it, I believe the MPRP 10 exercise also raised our stakeholders' awareness of their role, expectations, and potential as partners of research and end users of its findings. I also wish to acknowledge the constant and central role of our applicants, who continue to raise the bar of standards of their applications. In addition, they went out, they recruited stakeholders from industry, public, government, and private sectors, and involved them in their submissions, which added valuable insight beyond the strict academic scope, provided extra source of funding, and validated the end-user value of the proposal. Of course, no acknowledgement is complete without mentioning the tireless work of our teams, who in conjunction with our researchers and stakeholders identify thematic priorities, including the technology hotspot areas, which represent the global market opportunities. Our staff devise and manage the entire process that facilitates and converts research proposal to the successful awards that we are announcing today. They also contributed significantly to the selection process at its panel phase, where they led and took part in the discussions and evaluations. I had the pleasure to attend some of the sessions, and I was really impressed by the quality of our experts. So, for example, the energy and environment team, we had more than 20 experts sitting in one room, validating, reviewing those proposals after going through the peer review. Some of the consultants who were sitting there, people from the Ministry of Environment, people from QP, so I was really impressed by the quality of the reviewers. Let me now turn your attention to the features of this latest cycle of MPRP and the significance that they represent. This 10th cycle emphasized impact as an important context for our funded research. To that end, we introduced the new concept of co-funding. whereby we encouraged in cash and in-kind contribution from stakeholders and collaborators. Initially, I had lots of doubts whether we will find any interest from the private sector regarding the co-funding, but I was really impressed by the outcome. In addition to providing valuable resources to the projects, the co-funding model ensures that the findings of the research will have industrial uptake and socio-economic impact. Furthermore, we prioritized the collaboration to make sure that the industry is meeting our challenges and needs. We believe we'll ensure effective transfer of knowledge, build capacity, optimize use of resources, and involve our stakeholders in the research and its fruits. Finally, and in the same regard, we ensure that where possible, our peer reviewers had, in addition to their normal academic standing, industrial and public relevance. The effect of introducing these changes was overwhelming. One example of which will be here later from Ms. Noor Al-Marekhi are the amount of co-funding submitted and awarded this year. More than 50% of the submitted proposal had co-funding, amounting to $40 million in total, of which $13 million was in cash and $27 million in kind. More than 60% of the awarded proposals are expected to have co-funding at a total amount of $16 million. In addition to the MPRP 10, we are also glad to announce the award of other 3 QNRF programs: USRA, Path Towards Personalized Medicine PPM, and the Postdoctorate Research Award PIDRA. USRA, which is the Arabic for family, which is a joint funding program by QNRF and the Doha International Family Institute, DIFI. USRA support research into the Arab family and related issues. This second cycle of USRA encouraged research in topics such as marriage, parenting, parenthood, and divorce, with the aim of leading to the development of evidence-based policies and programs. This cycle generated interest from academic research institutions across the Arab world. Path Toward Personalized Medicine PPM, which is a joint funding program by QNRF and the Qatar Genome Project. The PPM is designed to advance research in topics related to genetics tailored healthcare for patients in Qatar. The PPM encourages research at the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of disease in Qatar, and as such, improve the healthcare quality for the Qatari people, citizens, and residents. Furthermore, the PPM aims to support research that benefits from the pilot phase of the Qatar Genome Project. Like the first one, the second cycle of PPM saw the selection of excellent proposal from prominent local institutions. Last but not least, the Postdoctorate Research Award, PIDRA, whose third cycle has been lately revamped to be one of the Qatar Research Leadership Program tracks, is dedicated to build the human capacity and research by attracting the best national and homegrown recent PhD graduates and young researchers to encourage independence at an early stage of research career. On a final note, considering the current and the future challenges that Qatar faces, it is imperative that we continue to explore new ways of creating synergy and improving effectiveness in our funding and conducting research. One such approach that we feel will optimize the use of our funding resources is to push for closer collaboration and amalgamation of projects of similar themes. As you know, we shifted our programs from investigator-driven to mission-driven this year, and we are emphasizing more collaboration and synergy across similar projects. This clustering of projects around central priority themes is sure to result in a greater degree of synergy, more effective address of the themes, and better optimization of the resources. We believe that this model is better suited to the size and the stage which the research ecosystem of Qatar is at. We do not underestimate the challenges of what's being proposed, but we feel that the benefits outweigh the cost, and we are willing to take those challenges head on. In closing, I would like to express my sincere gratitude and thanks to all of QFR&D, QNRF staff under the leadership of Dr. Absattar for their tireless effort and professionalism in making these resounding success possible. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Dr. Hamad. It's now my pleasure to invite Dr. Abdulsattar Al-Ta'i, the Executive Director of QNRF, to give his presentation.
Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and good morning, everyone. As Dr. Hamad mentioned, that the 10th cycle really is putting big emphasis on impact. My presentation comes really timely and necessary for this purpose. So let me start by just highlighting the phases that QNRF went through. As you are all aware, QNRF started in 2006, and then we started launching our smaller programs, the Europe, and then we moved to, within less than a year, we even launched the first MPRP cycle. And we carried on, as Dr. Hamad mentioned, in the investigator-driven research, because the purpose was there to build capacity, generate infrastructure, and also establish research culture altogether. Then phase 2 came for when the QF-R&D was established in 2001 and 2011, and then we through this stage, we carried on with we expanded our portfolio of programs, and we carried on with mainly investigator-driven research. But in phase 3, which is really highlighted with the major restructuring within the QF-R&D and also which was reflected on the MPRP 10 cycle. So there, in this phase 1, as you can see, we launched the various programs, as I mentioned earlier. And then the main thing within the phase 1, we had also the very important activity emerged, that is the Qatar National Vision 2030. So in a way, we geared our mission and vision to address the Qatar Vision 2030. And we moved along into phase 2, and because we had then the QNRS, the first version of the QNRS was established, was published in 2012, and then we also aligned our programs to that QNRS, and then we had 2 other versions of the QNRS. Very important that the 12 grand challenges were identified, followed by more focused grand challenges area, reduced to 4 in 2014. Another very important milestone that took place, that's that we had our own IP policy. All the QNRF previous programs or cycles, starting from 7th cycle down to the first, we relied heavily on the international prevailing model. But then our colleagues in IPTT worked diligently to really establish this very important policy, and in a way that the research funded by Qatar Foundation will be, the ownership will rest with Qatar per se. But there are also provisions for when we have co-funding, et cetera, and that beyond the scope of my presentation. And then, as Dr. Hamad mentioned, then we started focusing on mission-driven research. This is a quick overview of the MPR, of the Europe, which is the Undergraduate Research Experience Program. We are now in the 20th cycle. We started actually the 21st cycle. What has been achieved? We committed around $28 million in investment, and the overall success rate, as you can see, varies between between the various cycles, but the 38 success rate, and we had more than 840 funded projects. But this is the very important output, and I may even call it an impact. We trained through this program more than 3,207 students, undergraduate students. We really stimulated them to come and take research as a career track. For the MPRP, we committed over 880 million US dollar investment. Overall success rate of the various cycles, around 21%. So far, up to the 9th cycle, we have more than 1,000 funded projects, and the beneficiaries of that were more than 30 submitting institutions or awarded institutions. Overall, because we have other programs apart from the Europe and MPRP, we have the USRA, as Hamid mentioned, PPM, we have even YESRB, and the bigger portfolio of our program. So that's what the amount of investment we have put overall over the past 10 years. And the overall success rates for all the programs, 26%, and we have 570 active ongoing projects, and then we had more than 1,340 completed projects so far. On the international collaboration arena, well, we're doing great. We have more than 546 international institutions collaborating, coming from almost from the 4 corners of the globe. Because, as Dr. Hamid put a very important emphasis on the collaboration with the industry, so I just wanted to share with you the sort of collaboration that we had in the past cycles, the past program before the 10th cycle. So as you can see, we had a surge. Actually, in the first cycle and the second cycle of the MPRP, we had 0. But then we started enticing researchers to make approach to industries, and we gave some bonus points. But then overall, the average, as you can see, participation or the share of proposals with industrial collaboration, it was around 5 to 6%, not more. And the number of awarded projects were also very limited, and this is contrary what you will hear later on this morning or later on, I don't know, I think it will be this morning. And as you can see that the success rate here is really, there is an effect on industrial collaborations. And although it's a small share of the overall, but you can see that with industrial collaboration, because this will enrich one's proposal or projects, it's around 10%. So there is an appreciable increase. Here I'm just trying to capture all the key industrial collaboration areas. And obviously, the oil and gas was, it had the lion's share, and we had also collaboration in the water and other industries. But as you can see, the main platform for the collaboration is the Europe, actually. It's the Europe, and it's not the MPRP. So this is another reflection. That's some sort of, I'm sharing with you some statistics about industrial collaboration with industrial stakeholders. Some of them even come, international companies, but also we had some little collaboration with industrial stakeholders from outside Qatar. This is, a quick overview of how much share of funds we added according to the goals and objectives of the QNRS, the major goals and objectives. Obviously, you can see that we have in health, addressing the national health priorities, and also in ICT, we have the system application and robotics, in the oil and gas industry, in the energy and environment, and also environmental sustainability, and so forth. Now, what has been achieved through, through QNRF funding? I mean, apart from, all the other spillover effects, research culture, human capacity, etc. We had very important thing that we had surge in output. Actually, you can say that Qatar experienced surge of more than 50-fold in publications due to QNRF funding. This is an annual increase rate of 28%. Just for the benefit of, to benchmark, what is our average worth of output or publication per 100K of US dollar of funding. It's in the order of one for almost all the cycles. The fifth cycle, because it's still ongoing and publication still in the pipeline. We benchmark this with the NIH. NIH is 1.5. And one can appreciate because the higher cost of living in Qatar. So in a way, we are doing well in the scientific output. This is the average output per MPRP projects. It's almost 10 publications per funded project. For the key investigators, in the earlier cycles of the MPRP, we did allow lead PIs coming from outside Qatar. And this was by design because we wanted to really attract world-renowned researchers to network with our Qatari community. And it really worked very well. And as you can see, this is now we are limiting the lead PI role only to researchers from inside Qatar. For postdocs, you can see this is really for the MPRP. Staggering figures for that because almost in each cycle, we have over 100 key investigators from inside Qatar. They come and work with the 30 submitting institutions. So, because these are the foot soldiers of research. Faculty members, they help the faculty members in really implementing the research. But then this is a very important impact, but it is not sustainable per se because they come and go, these postdocs, right? And so we worked out a plan with our capacity building team for this one and for the graduate students. As you can see, the graduate students, we have, when we say inside Qatar, we also employ a huge number of graduate students. They come also from abroad, from campuses to work in Qatar, but then they get their degrees from outside. So in this program, we are going, as Dr. Hamid mentioned in his opening speech, we need to create synergy. So we are really going to, for the 10th cycle, we will capture all the opportunities for graduate students, and we will try to make a connection with our QRLP programs, because this is very important. This way we can guarantee the sustainability, because these are the scientists who will remain inside Qatar. On the IP front, that's what we have so far, 220 invention disclosures, 86 patent filed, and 7 patents granted. Now, the road to impact, because it's good to do all these things, publication, etc. But really, as I mentioned, and I linked all what Qatar Foundation is doing is to Qatar Vision 2030 and to move to knowledge-based economy. So in this case, where are we in that, right? And we need to really benchmark ourselves. We all know that the timeline or the road to impact is long way, and it takes, from I would say up to 15 or even 20, 25 years to really feel the bigger impact of the social and economic impact. However, we are addressing some of these impacts in the meanwhile, in the ones which I mentioned earlier on. This is the logical model for how to correlate the impact with the output and outcome. I'd like, this is really the impact. I'd like you to focus on the last bullet, sorry. Yeah, so I wanted to focus on these bullets because how would we measure the impact of our funded projects? So we went really into very detailed survey. We conducted a survey for all our completed projects because these, you cannot have impact per se for those who are still ongoing. And through there, that's the sort of international classification of the impact, and this is as classified by the European Science Foundation, because impact, people have different perception of impact, but we use this standard classification of impact, and we asked every single lead PI, and sometimes if they are not there, we ask their co-lead PIs to identify where was their impact per project. So if I'm doing 3 or 4 projects, the survey reached to, I have to submit 3 sort of responses. And really, during this very short time, and we put a lot of effort, and I'd like also to thank all the lead PIs for their really for their commitment to respond to this. We have 67%, and this is huge. If Dr. Khalid Al-Qaradaghi will attest to that, he used to tell us 30% is excellent. So we are doing. So this would be, I would say, it's a representative sort of survey. So this is where the 9 sorts of impacts, and we asked for each project, because we didn't want to capture the type of impact, but also the degree of the impact. So we have the high, medium impact, and low impact. And just to make life easier for all of us, that's what we have identified from that survey. So the 3 high impact areas are the scientific, and that has been proven by what I had presented previously. Training, we have a lot of training, and this is part of the capacity building. Technology, that's creation of products, processes, innovation. This is yet to be verified by us, but at least some researchers are telling us that we have this sort of impact, which is good. It will serve our target for the creation of knowledge-based economy. The low ones are the so-called, political is the evidence-based policy and the political changes. This is a long-winded process. Cultural contribution to arts, values, and beliefs, and also the environmental. We did ask how the platforms used for dissemination and engaging the beneficiaries, the stakeholders. So we also listed to them, and this is also part of the international survey, that was it through events, press activities, patents and licensing agreement, people exchange, collaboration, spin-off companies, promotional activities, staff, skills, etc. And that's what what was summary of the survey. But here again, I'm capturing for you the top three activities and the lower three activities. So events, attending conferences, doing workshops, seminars, and this is also evident in this. Collaboration, it is also evident in our skills, project-specific learning and development opportunities. The ones with low is the spin-off companies. 2% of our respondents identified they have sort of spin-off companies, but are they really up and running? So we need to make investigation with the collaboration of our IPT team. Patents, yes, we have around 16% of the percentage. Press activities, actually, this is, we received that with a mixed feeling because media interviews, yes, we didn't have at the level of the lead PI. So they were talking about their level, but at our level, I think we did good in that. So now moving to that phase 3, which I mentioned earlier, and this is where the QFR&D identified these 6 strategic goals for all the centers and under the umbrella of the QFR&D. And for QNRF, we are involved in most of these strategic objectives, but there are mainly 2 that the strategic objective 2, this is fund targeted R&D projects which are aligned with the national priorities and global market. And the other one is to encourage and facilitate public and private sector collaboration and funding. And that's exactly what we have done. As Dr. Hamid mentioned in his opening speech, we really did, everybody did a great job from researchers, from QFR&D, from the stakeholders. And so the key changes, as you might all recall when we launched that this cycle, is that we have defined the themes in collaboration with stakeholders. So it was not only stakeholders were involved in the identification. We focus on priority areas, and we tackled them in a holistic manner. We promoted the co-funding and public-private sector, and say no more, Dr. Hamid mentioned the really very pleasing figures of the co-funding. And then we have the hotspot analysis, which was really a very important tool to help us focus on where we should really invest in our research at the national level. This is the sort of the statistics which you see, number of proposals submitted, and you can see there is the industrial collaboration, and there is also the other sort of collaboration that's across the academia and the government institutions. But the good news also that we have the 50%, around 50% of co-funding. This is the way for us, and really this is what we are trying, this is the message embedded in my presentation. It's about time that we move into impact. The road of impact is not easy, we know, but we have facilitated that for everybody. I mean, we have the QSTP ready to support all the innovation, and but then we provided extra opportunities. So any research, promising research outcome that we will be providing through the QFR&D, the Technology Development Fund, the TDF. This is ready and up and running. And Product Development Fund, that's to take you further into making more impact and produce the product and the license and apply it globally. And even to extend it to the final goal of the Technology Venture Fund. That's another. So you have all the components for success, and I really call on all of you to really find your way to impact, because that's what Qatar deserves from all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abdel Sattar. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Hisham Saber, the Technical Director at QNRF, to give his presentation.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Ramadan Kareem. Good morning, everyone. I'm here today to tell you about a new project monitoring process that we are devising at QNRF. I'll tell you about the current process, why we need to change the process, and how we're going to implement these changes. Thanks. The objective of the project monitoring process are to address a number of objectives. First is to safeguard QF R&D's interest, being the guardian and the custodian of the country's investment in research, to mitigate and minimize the risk of failure, to maximize output, outcome, and impact, to identify and encourage excellence, to help QF R&D identify future needs, niches, and improve its provision and effectiveness. In general, a monitoring process, any monitoring process, needs to be a number of things, including being robust, multi-purposed, comprehensive, fair, i.e. it should guard against prejudices, breaches of confidentiality, conflicts of interest. It needs to be transparent, prudent, and flexible. The current model that we are set to change is designed to assess the progress of an awarded project against its planned scientific objectives. The subject of its monitoring is timely achievement of these objectives, and the method is assessing and acting on semi-annual reports. Of course, the process detects and flags other measures in terms of dissemination, in terms of IP, in terms of training, in terms of transfer of knowledge, and so forth. But these are flagged and detected for statistical reasons and to act as a backdrop and a context of the progress of the project, not as measures of progress. So why change? These are the drivers for changing the current process. A, we want to lighten the burden of reporting on our researchers. Secondly, we want a more clear and consistent reporting. I'll talk about consistency in a minute, but in terms of clarity, currently, about 70% of our projects end up asking for an NCTE, which is no-cost time extension. And this is a bit anomalous because in a typically 3-year project, you get 5 semi-annual reports, very favorable, steady progress, no problem. And just about when the 6th report is due, we have an application for a no-cost time extension for typically 6 months to a year, which is a bit puzzling. It's not that we don't want you to apply for an extension. NCTE is a mechanism that we put in place for you to use should you need to. But it's the discrepancy between the favorable and steady report of progress and the asking for extension at the end of it needs to be addressed. It's not also that we don't understand the unpredictability or non-linearity of research. We do, because most of us at QNRF, at QFR&D are or were researchers in our own right. So we understand that fully. But nonetheless, we thought that the process could benefit from a more clear approach. We need to, both the reporting side and the evaluating side. We want to widen the scope of the of the monitoring process and make it more interactive and personal. So what are the new features of this model? We have a number of features that we're introducing. It is, first and foremost, evidence-based rather than account-based, which what the current process is, account-based. We want to make the new process evidence-based. We want to increase robustness and reduce frequency, because frequency actually entails the burden of reporting on our researchers. On certain level, frequency could be confused and has been confused as being robust. It isn't. Frequency is different from robustness, and we want to have a robust process but less frequent. The new model measures more than mere adherence to scientific objectives, restores consistency between the conditions of proposal award and conditions of project success. And this is important. This is the consistency part. When you submit your proposals, you address the scientific objectives, of course, the novelty, the soundness of the science, the significance, and all manner of things. But we will also address other criteria that we subsequently evaluate. Things like IP, dissemination, impact, training, collaboration. These are evaluated criteria that we, in the submission phase, we evaluate them and we award them on the basis of our evaluation of these criteria. But come the project, we concentrate, at least currently, we concentrate on timely achievement of scientific objectives. We want to widen the process. We want to make it more consistent and bring to the fore all these criteria and make a wholesome process. We need the process to be also multi-purposed, i.e. serves more than just evaluation. We also want it to serve as feedback to the awardees. We want to make this process as an integral part of a larger scheme of evaluating the performance of fields, pillars, and programs. And we want to make it more personal rather than electronic, which is what it is now. So the model, as I said, will measure more than just timely achievement of scientific objectives. Scientific objectives is, of course, still at the very fore of how we assess the performance of the projects. But we also want to assess capacity in its three pillars: human, physical resources, and environment. We want to assess dissemination in its two components, which are the dissemination into academic audience, publications predominantly, but also a transfer of knowledge to end users, stakeholders, the public at large. Things like training, outreach, consultation. And we want also to measure and assess commercialization, generation of IP, protection of IP, exploitation of IP. All those things we will be asking you to tell us about. We would like to hear what you're doing in terms of those criteria, and we will be assessing them as we go along. This is the how part, the process part. The new model will comprise 4 elements: a kickoff meeting, a midterm meeting in terms of the predominantly 3-year projects that we fund. This will come at the end of the 2nd year. An annual progress report, and a final technical report. In the meetings, and unless IP or other issues dictate otherwise, this event will be attended by the awardees' peers, as well as QNRF officials and reviewers. And we could leverage here, I'll talk about the awardees' peers a little bit, a couple of slides later, but we could leverage here the clusters that Dr. Hamad talked about in his opening speech. The kickoff meeting is held soon after the start date of the project and serves a number of purposes. It benefits the awardees in terms of observation and advice. So this is a process that goes beyond just evaluating progress. We want to benefit the awardees from advice from their peers and interaction. It generates awareness, networking, collaboration, exchange of knowledge and experience, and optimizes the use of resources, creates synergy. It generates criteria for the progress assessment for subsequent reviews. It identifies opportunities, challenges, issues, and changes. The midterm meeting, this is the main event of the evaluating cycle. There is a report, the yearly report, which will coincide with the meeting, submitted in advance. We also have a presentation. And by the way, where applicable, and as much as possible, we want to hold these events at the awardees institutions in the presence of their peers. Because we want to listen to presentations from the research team, from the investigators, and the research staff, and their students. And we want demonstrations where applicable, where this is applicable. And we want also to tour the facility, look at the experimental setups, look at findings, discuss various things. This is just a representation of the two meetings where the awardee interacts with two sets of people, QF, R&D, QNRF, reviewing panelists, and also the peers and the function on each side in terms of the peers. Again, here we could leverage the clusters. In terms of the peers, they interact with the awardee in terms of giving advice, offering collaboration, synergy, resources. In terms of the evaluators, we generate the evaluation criteria for the next evaluating event. We assess risks, challenges, compliance, and so forth. And the team will comprise a number of elements. There will be managers, possibly leads, compliance, awards, and so forth. The yearly report is designed along the 4 criteria that I talked about. The scientific objectives, still a main criteria for assessment, capacity building, commercial exploitation, and dissemination. The final report, which probably just brings us to the conclusion of this presentation. The final report is designed along the lines of a scientific report, which we are all familiar with. The structure that starts at the abstract, ends in conclusion with all the major or main components of a scientific report. But in addition, and significantly, we want to hear about impact. We want to hear about enhancement to the research field, societal and economical benefits, enhancement to the standing of the individual, the institution, and the country. Collaboration and network, how was that leveraged and utilized? Utilization and benefits of co-funding, where applicable. Success story, overall output, and other sort of impact as well. This, of course, applies from MPRP 10 onwards. Past cycles will remain the subject of the old model assessment, but this will apply from this cycle onwards, and we'll hope that this will bring both lightening of the burden of reporting and also more robust and firm reporting and evaluating process. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Dr. Hisham. Now, I would like to call Dr. Aisha Al-Ubaidli, Director of Capacity Building at QNRF, to give her presentation.
Where's the... Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to share with you today our capacity building. This is a new directorate within QNRF, just recently approved by the R&D. So the capacity building strategy, will go through overview of my presentation today. Capacity building strategy, programs and activities, revamp PIDRA, and award announcement for today, and way forward. So the capacity building strategy this year, the R&D strategy, the R&D took a decision to group all the activities of the capacity building within, under the umbrella of QNRF. Having said that, so our portfolio is large right now, and focuses on generate interest in STEM, support undergrad research opportunities, provide scholarship for master and PhD, and then offer fellowship grants for proposals. So for postdoc, I think this is the one I'm gonna explain more later. And then the new program, which is called Early Career Researchers, which is gonna be launched next year, early 2018. So the capacity building plan is, we are working or focusing on K-12 through two main activities. The National Science Reach, first of all, is the high school competition, which is under the National Science Research Week. And then we are also offering a training facility, which is taking place at Tamok. So this will provide for the youngest students to expose to the labs and get experience in hands-on experiments. The next is the Europe the Europe is, so far we have received, we are supporting as a capacity building, we are supporting the successful Europe, which has been in the past, has been proven a very successful program. So we have received 80 projects so far, applications, and from 9 different institutions. And then the announcement of the Europe is going to be in August. We have also GISRA. This is, again, under QRLP. GISRA is, we have received more than 100 applications. Again, this will be announced in August. Between the grad and the undergrad, we have what is called student exchange programs, where we encourage the students to apply or to participate in international research labs or research labs, yeah. So also we have PIDRA, which I will talk later more on that. And then we have the last, which is ICRA, Early Career. This to let the postdoc or the applicants to have more, to be more independently and to apply later on to MPRP. So let's talk about PIDRA 3, this cycle. This is a revamp award. This is part of a QRLP, which is Qatar Research Leadership Program, and it is attract national and homegrown scientists, so to retain or to sustain the, you know that we have a critical mass in research in Qatar, so that's why we need to retain all the scientists to be in Doha or in Qatar to conduct research and participate with different institutions, to be part of these different institutions. And then we have so therefore we develop their capabilities in Qatar, as I said. And the last is to provide them the opportunity with faculty researchers to identify all the needs of the requirement of Qatar National Research Strategy. The details, the award is up to 2 years of financial support. It's given to local submitting institution, and it's worth $100,000 per year. 5% will go to indirect cost, and then $5,000 dedicated for the postdoc to participate in conferences and publications. So the review process, as usual with the QNRF and MPRP, it goes through scientific review and then also programmatic review with a panel review to rank all the projects. The applications, so far, 2 submitted proposal or applications we received this year. One is in the field of medical and health science. The second is engineering and technology, and both are coming from Qatar University. I bet you want to know which one has been awarded, right? Okay. So the result is, first of all, I want to congratulate the winners or the awardees in this PIDRA. The postdoctoral fellow is Dr. Noura Mohammed. She used to be part of a QRLP, and we are really proud of her that she reached the point where she can apply to be a postdoc and then later on to accept her in ICRA program. And her mentor is Dr. Haytham Abu Saleh. The project is nanomedicine approach to the treatment of pulmonary arterial hypertension. So congratulate Noura and her mentor. But I have another one. The second project is again from Qatar University. It is towards a flexi-concrete CNT's reinforcement alternative. This is by the fellow Dr. Mohammed Mahsen and his mentor, Professor Ramzi Taha. This is engineering. So both projects has been selected for this year, hopefully to increase the number because we were limited in time to announce for the PIDRA, but hope that everyone can participate and apply for this PIDRA. Way forward, we need to expedite the legal process and signing the MRFA, and mentors will receive email communication regarding the activation of the grant next week. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Aisha. Now I would like to invite Ms. Riham Dahir, the Post-Award Administration Manager at QNRF, to give her presentation and announce the Best Research Office Award of the year 2016.
So, good morning, everybody, and welcome to QNRF 9th Annual Forum. I will be announcing today the Best Research Office for the year 2016. I will give you an overview. How do we do this? How do we select the Best Research Office? We go through certain calculations based on our online performance monitoring system. We call it the OPMS. This system promotes adherence to QNRF award management policies, and it encourages the research productivity and recognizes the best research office through awarding them a merit prize. The OPMS utilizes certain scores, certain point score scale for the awarded research offices at various criteria. I will go through the criteria. We go through the compliance with the pre and post funding requirements, the effectiveness and accuracy of the vetting process, the completeness of the reports, meeting the vetting deadlines, and the punctuality in responding to queries. For this year, there were certain eligibility criteria. The OPMS was covering the period from January 1st to December 31st of 2016. We included the research offices that has active projects in these eligible programs. Out of the approved research offices we have with the QNRF, there were 21 eligible institutions for the award. And we will be recognizing the research office with the highest performance score. Based on the calculations were made, there were 3 shortlisted ROs. I will be sorting them alphabetically. Qatar University, Texas A&M, and Weill Cornell Medical College. Best Research Office for the year. Before I announce the result, I would kindly ask Dr. Hamad Ibrahim and Dr. Abdel Sattar Ta'i to the stage to hand in the prize for our awardees. Are you ready for the moment? The best research office for the year 2016 is Texas A&M University. I would kindly ask Dr. Iyad to come to the stage and receive the gift on behalf of Dr. Cesar. Congratulations. Thank you. That was my short presentation for today, and I wish you all the best in the announcement of the next results. Thank you.
Thank you, Riham. And now, this is the moment we all have been waiting for. So without further ado, I would like to invite Ms. Noor Al-Mreikhi, Deputy Executive Director, to announce the much anticipated results for the 4 QNRF funding programs.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Ramadan Kareem. As always, it is always a pleasure to conclude the QNRF Forum with the announcement of the much anticipated outcome of all our major funding programs. I'll try to make the introductory information as brief as possible. So what will be started first by giving you an overview and the way forward related to all the funding programs. I will start by announcing the outcome of USRA call, our second call, followed by the Path Towards Personalized Medicine, second call. And last but not least, I will announce the outcome of MPRP 10th cycle. Now, just for those that are, to recap the whole process, which always applies throughout the different programs, what we do, we usually start with the submission using the Q grant, followed by screening, evaluation. We give our funding recommendation, and finally, we do the award announcement. Now, it does not stop at this stage. I will highlight also what would be the way forward once we announce the outcome of these different grants. Before that, I just wanted to highlight what the evaluation process entails. It's the same process as we did last year. It is made of 2-tier evaluation steps. The first one starts with the peer reviewing process. We sent our proposal to a max 3 peer reviewers who assess the different call based on their defined evaluation criteria, and this is an example coming from the MPRP cycle. The second stage of evaluation is what we call programmatic review. And the programmatic review starts first by shortlisting proposal that shows high merit. And we have a shortlisting procedure available for those that are interested to know more about it. And those shortlisted proposals undergo a panel review, which is the programmatic review. It also includes IP assessment, regulatory assessment, in addition to the evaluation criteria that has been set to these programs or different call. It might differ from one call to the other, but the most important aspect that we are trying to do during the programmatic review is to actually select those projects that is of impact to Qatar out of those high meritorious proposals. So we are looking at their strength to the alignment of the priorities that have been defined, the quality of the collaboration, the co-funding, if there is any, potential impact on Qatar and TRL level, if applicable, past performance of PIs, QNRF funding in this area, and the composition of the local research team. Now, it's very important for me to highlight at this stage, for those that will be announced later on to be awarded, that there are specific steps that will be happening after the announcement of the award. We will start first by the lead PI. He or she will be receiving an email communication from us after the rolling up of all the awarded projects, telling them that now they can access the Q grant to see their evaluation outcome and their score. In addition, hopefully within 2 weeks, QNRF is undergoing currently the budget review and all the award condition, trying to integrate it in the system. So you will be receiving, those award projects will be receiving notification regarding the activation of the pre-funding stage, and then they can access all the changes that are required for them to submit, both them and the research office, of course. Finally, for them to activate the grant, and which is the most important step, is after the completion of the pre-funding stage, addressing all the compliances, we need to sign the Master Research Funding Agreement, which we call it MRFA. I should highlight for MPRP 10 cycle, we will be having a new MRFA. So however, PPM2 and USRA will continue having the old one. However, for MPRP, it's very important that we try, in order for us to activate the process as soon as possible, to expedite the legal approval of the MRFA with the awarded submitting institution. Next week, those awarded submitting institution MPRP 10 will be receiving notification from my team related a workshop, so to introduce the new MRFA and set the steps to really expedite the process of getting the MRFA signed in time. Okay, now let's talk about the first call, which is USRA. It's in its second cycle. USRA call is jointly funded with the Doha International Family Institute. As Dr. Hamad mentioned earlier, the call by itself, it encourages regions and Arab families that contribute in the development of evidence-based policies and programs for the promotion of well-being families. We have defined 4 priority themes. The first one is family, followed by marriage, then parenting, and finally divorce. USRA grant condition remain almost the same. It's for up 1 year. It's open for PIs from both Qatar and other Arab countries. It's up to $50,000 per year. Now, just to give you a brief information about the submission within this call, this cycle. So we've received 17 submitted proposals. 12 have passed the screening, and this is what we consider an official submission. So the ones that pass screening, it will be going for peer reviewing. 10 of these proposals have been shortlisted based on their merit. The distribution of both submission and shortlisting goes as the following. You can see the majority is going to the family studies, followed by parenting, then marriage. Now, just to give you a brief comparison about the submission and award from this cycle as opposed to previous cycle, you see that's almost the same number of applications have been received in this cycle. Last cycle, we have awarded 5 projects, representing 38% success rate. As of this cycle, I will be talking more about the awarded number in the following slide. I should highlight that the number of submissions from PIs inside Qatar as opposed to PIs from outside Qatar is almost the same, representing 47% of the submitted proposals. Now, just to give you an information about the outcome of USRA second cycle, we will be awarding 3 projects representing a success rate of 25%. They've been distributed among 2 areas. 2 projects will be under family studies, and 1 is going to be on parenting. Now I will be announcing the outcome of the call. The awarded project will be sorted alphabetically based on their submitting institutions. The first awarded project goes to the Doha Institute for Graduate Study for the lead PI, Dr. Sophie Devoir, with a success rate of 100%. Congratulations. The second award project goes to Qatar University to Professor Hussein Suleiman with a success rate of 25%. Congratulations. The third awarded project goes to American University of Beirut for the Professor Dr. Liliane Gandour with a success rate of 100%. Congratulations. Moving on to the second call, part toward personalized medicine. I know the suspense is now building up. This call is jointly funded with the Qatar Genome Program. It's in the second cycle. It's one of our success stories. As also Dr. Hamad mentioned earlier, the goal of the call is to build on the benefit from the pilot phase of the Qatar Genome and to advance research that aims to provide a tailored medical treatment for patients through their genetic profile. We have defined 3 priority themes under this call. The first one under the general area of discovery, in which we try to identify diseases through their genetic profile and population-specific DNA. The second priority theme is translational research, which is a clinical research targeting medical products and therapies addressing relevant diseases here in Qatar. The third area is on community engagement, ethics and policy, and precision medicine. The Ppm Grant has been changed slightly bit from the previous cycle. So in this cycle, we are awarding up to 200,000 per year for up to 3 years. Only lead PIs from inside Qatar are allowed to submit. However, international collaboration is still allowed as long as it does not exceed 35% of the allocated annual budget. Just to give you a brief information about the statistics related to the submission, we have received 27 proposals in PPM2, 25 have passed the screening, and 7 of them have been shortlisted. The distribution of both submission and shortlisted is as follows. As you can see, the majority goes to discovery, followed by translational, and then policy. Now, just to give you a brief comparison, the same thing as in USRA, we have received almost the same number of applications compared to last cycle. The success rate in the last cycle, it was 19%, in which we awarded 5 projects. Now, just to give you the brief general information about the awarded project for the PPM2, we will be awarding 4 projects, which represent 16% success rate, distributed among 2 areas of the priority themes. 3 projects will be under discovery, and 1 will be on community engagement and policies. The same applies as in USRA. I will be announcing the awarded project sorted alphabetically based on their submitting institutions. The first award project goes to Hamad bin Khalifa University for the lead PI, Dr. Muhammad Ghali. It's under the area of policy and community engagement. Congratulations. The second project goes to Sidra Medical and Research Center for Dr. Sohaila Al-Khudr. Congratulations. For 2 projects, third and fourth goes to Cornell Medical College for both Dr. Stefan Atkins and Dr. Noha Yusri. Congratulations. Now, for the moment that we've been waiting for, just bear with me, just a few minutes, hopefully. For MPRP 10 cycle, before I go and talk more about the statistics, I want just to highlight the major changes that have been introduced in this cycle. The most important change that MPRP 10 became a mission-driven. We have defined our priority themes. We have also encouraged and established co-funding with end users. In addition, the grant size and the duration of the project have been changed. We currently award up to 700,000 for up to 4 years, compared to last year, which used to be 300,000 for up to 3 years. Now, just to highlight the information related to the priority themes that have defined, or thematic areas, our highest priority goes to the number 1, which is the priority themes. They build up on Qatar National Research Strategy, or the Grand Challenges 2013 and 2014. And these priority themes have been identified through the consultation and workshop with our relevant research end users and stakeholders. It may also include hotspots that have been identified by the IP team. The second priority goes to other hotspots that has not been included in priority themes. These represent global technological hotspots that are and represent what has been remaining from the priority theme. The third one is the remaining areas that have been left from the grand challenges of 2013 and 14. Now, just to give you a brief information about the submission in this cycle, we have received an unexpected number, to be honest. 376 proposals have been submitted in MPRP 10. 343 have passed screen, have been sent to peer reviewers for evaluation. And about 60% have been shortlisted for programmatic evaluation. This shows that the distribution of the submitted proposals among the priority themes, including other grand challenges. As you can see, majority proposal goes to the energy and environment, representing 42%, followed by the biomedical and health with 28%, then the ICT 16%, and finally social science 11%. We still had some projects that have been submitted in other grand challenges. Now, the type of application we have received, majority of the applications in this cycle are new applications. We still have some applications that are renewals and resubmission. And even those renewals and resubmission, they have been aligned to the priority themes that have been identified for this call. This is just the same graph that Dr. Abdel showed you earlier. It shows you the history of MPRP cycle submission. As you can see, this cycle is almost the same in submission number as in the previous cycle. For those that are not familiar, from 9th cycle and the 8th cycle, as you can see, there is a big gap or shrinkage in number of submission. This has been attributed due to the policy change that we have introduced in MPRP 9, in which we have applied the rule, only lead PI can only submit one application. They used to submit multiple, so this reduces it by half. The additional rule that we have applied, also we limited the application to lead PIs from inside Qatar. So this has been done by design. We limited the number of applications. However, the success rate in the previous cycle was high. It was 25%. Now I'll be giving you some information about the awarded project in MPRP 10 cycle and what is the success rate. Before that, I forgot the slide. So I also wanted to give you an overview on the co-funding. It's also built on Dr. Hamed's earlier speech. We did not expect to receive such an overwhelming collaboration with the research end users to co-fund or has shown interest to co-fund the MPRP. More than about 180 proposals have potential co-funding in this cycle. 70 collaborating institutions show their contribution or interest in co-funding these projects. These are research end users, whether they are private or public sector. 50% of these 70 are from inside Qatar. Now, the majority of the co-funding is in-kind co-funding. It's not in cash, representing 70% of the submitted proposals. Now, for the in-cash, they are 50% of the co-funding, overall co-funding, with a value of up to $13 million. Now, the overall value of both in-kind and in-cash is up to $40 million. Now, if you want to know how much in-cash has been contributed by research end users, and these are the public and the private sector, it represents $8 million, and which 75% of these $8 million is coming from inside Qatar. Now, just to show you the outcome of MPRP 10 cycle, the blue columns, the white columns, is showing us the number of submission. So I will walk you through bar by bar. We have received, as I have mentioned earlier, 343 proposals in this cycle. We will be awarding 85 projects, representing 25% success rate. For proposal co-funding, we have received about 180 interest in co-funding. This represents the number of proposals that has co-funding. We will be awarding 57 projects that has co-funding with a success rate of 67% and an overall value of $16 million US. How much is in cash? It's $6 million US, represent 36% of the co-funding of the awarded projects. And the in-kind is of the value of $10 million US. Now, as I mentioned earlier, majority of submission is coming as a new application, and also there being majority of the applicants are actually a new applicant, representing 207, or 60% of our applicants are new applicants. How many have been awarded? 47% of the award project are for new applicants. So this is a hint. 16 submitting institutions participated in this cycle. Probably last year was around 27. The reason why the number has shrunk, there have been multiple institutions that have merged together. So the number actually did not change from the previous cycle. The number of awarded submitting institutions is 13. So 13 awarded institutions will be announced today. We have received 19 renewal application, and for those that don't know what is renewal, it's a continuation grant building on the success of previously awarded MPRP. So in addition to the new application, they have to show that they have actually produced some reliable, very strong outcome that gives them a higher success rate for them to be selected in this cycle. And indeed, we will be awarded 7 projects with a success rate of 37% success rate within the renewal applications. Now, just to give you an overall distribution of the awarded project throughout the 4 pillars, it is expected, of course, 45% of the award project goes to the energy and environment, followed by the health and biomedical, then ICT and social sciences, with the following success rate of 27, 15, and then 13. However, within each pillar, the success rate within each pillar remains equal. It's almost as 25% on average success rate within each pillar. Now, the moment that we've been waiting for, the list of awarded submitting institutions sorted out alphabetically. But before I go into this, I would like to a disclaimer, it's very important information. The listed projects that we will be showing later are considered award pending, as we always do, until their compliance to the award conditions on any major changes, including merging a few projects. So they all still consider award pending until they comply with during the pre-funding stage. The first awarded submitting institution goes to Qatar. They have been awarded 1 grant with a success rate of 33%. Congratulations. The second award goes to Carnegie Mellon University, Qatar. They've been awarded 4 grants with a success rate of 67%. One of these awards is a renewal. Congratulations. The third one goes to College of North Atlantic, Qatar. They've been awarded 2 grants with a success rate of 67%. Congratulations. The fourth one goes to the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies with 2 grants and success rate of 67%. Congratulations. Gulf Organization for Research and Development, they also been granted an MPRP 10 cycle, 1 award, success rate 100%, and that award is renewal. Congratulations. The 6th submitting institution that will be awarded is Hamad bin Khalifa University. They've been awarded 8 projects with a success rate of 17%. Congratulations. Hamad Medical Corporation, they've been awarded 4 grants with a success rate of 20%. One of these projects is a renewal. Congratulations. Ministry of Public Health, they've been awarded 1 grant with a success rate of 33%. Congratulations. Northwestern University in Qatar, they've been awarded 1 grant with a success rate of 50%, and one of these awarded projects is renewal. Congratulations. Qatar University, they've been awarded 29 projects with a success rate 19%, and 2 of these projects are renewal. Congratulations. Sidra Medical and Research Center, they've been awarded 8 grants with a success rate of 40%. Congratulations. Texas A&M University, they've been awarded 19 grants with a success rate of 32%, and one of them is renewal. Congratulations. Last but not least, Weill Cornell Medical College have been awarded 5 grants with a success rate 25%. Congratulations, Weill Cornell. It's very important to highlight, as I mentioned earlier, especially for PPM, that we require the applicant and the research office that will be awarded to expedite the process of signing the fund management agreement. It's in conjunction with this coming fiscal cycle. My team will be communicating with you very soon related to the requirement. With this, I would like to congratulate all the award and submitting institutions and the researchers. Thank you.
Thank you, Noor. And now, we will scroll the projects awarded to each institution. Thank you for joining us, both here at Doha and online, and we look forward to seeing you next year.